Welcome to the Capital Exchange. I'm Steve Wilbur, Managing Director at Allen Capital Group.
And I'm Travis Portwood, Chief Investment Officer with Allen Capital Group.
Travis, as you know, inflation has been a hot topic. We've discussed it in other videos. And as of late, we're feeling the sting of it in our pocketbooks, and it's proving not to be as transitory as Chairman Powell said it was going to be. With that being said, stories are starting to reemerge about Series I bonds or Series I savings bonds, also known as Series I bonds. So let's talk about some of their advantages or limitations or disadvantages for the viewers.
Yeah, there's a lot of details that go on with these I bonds, Steve, so we're going to talk about them at a high level.
Yeah.
I bonds or treasury bonds, and they have two components to their interest rate. The first component is just a fixed rate that doesn't change for the life of the bond.
Sure.
Most people are familiar with that. The second component is actually linked to inflation, so it's going to fluctuate over time. And they use the CPI number, the Consumer Price Index, as it's known in the media. Now, this portion of the interest rate is set twice per year. It's set once in May and once in November. So with inflation high, like you just alluded to, if you go to the government's website right now, treasurydirect.gov, I bonds issued between November of 2021 and April of 2022 have a current interest rate of 7.12%.
Wow, Travis, 7.12% on government bonds.
Yeah, so you can see why the stories.
Yeah, you can see why people want to talk about these.
Right.
Interest earned on the principal is compounded semi-annually. I want people to know, and that interest is added to the bond until maturity or until the individual cashes it out. The interest is taxable at the federal level, but not at the state level. If you use the bond, though, for higher education purposes, the federal income tax may not apply to you either.
That's correct, Steve. Like we said, there's a lot to unpack, so I'm about to more detail.
This is going to get deep.
So there's two ways you can buy I bonds. The first is electronically through, again, the government's website, which is treasurydirect.gov. The minimum amount, if you buy them electronically, is $25. You have to spend at least $25. The maximum you can buy electronically via the website is $10,000. Now, this is per tax ID or otherwise per person per year, right?
Yeah.
The second way you can purchase I bonds is you can buy paper I bonds, and you do that by electing that method when you file your federal income tax return and you use your refund dollars to actually buy the I bonds. And then they will mail you the paper I bonds if you prefer to have them that way. The minimum dollar amount you have to buy if you use the paper method is $50. The maximum dollar amount is $5,000, assuming you have at least a $5,000
Tax refund
that's coming your way. So if everything works out, the maximum amount each individual or each tax ID can buy in 1 year of I bonds is $15,000. You can also gift I bonds. If you gift I bonds to someone else, it does count against their $15,000 though. So keep that in mind if you want to use these as a gift.
Yeah, great point, Travis. Another question we get is how long do you have to hold these I bonds? I bonds earn interest for up to 30 years, right, unless you cash them out early. You do have to hold them for at least 1 year, though, before you can cash them out.
And Steve, if you cash them out prior to holding them at least 5 years, you're going to have to sacrifice 3 months worth of interest. So for example, you buy an I bond today, 18 months from now, you want to cash it out and get your money back. You're only going to get 15 months worth of interest on that I bond because you have to sacrifice 3 months because you didn't hold it 5 years.
And Travis, another thing we need to point out is that you can't purchase I bonds on the secondary market like you can a lot of other bonds out there. This means you can't buy them in your brokerage account such as TD Ameritrade or Schwab or some other custodian that you may have.
Right. So a lot of information we've gone over here, Steve. I'm just going to sum it up quick. I bonds are treasury bonds with an interest rate linked to inflation, 7.12% currently. They're taxed, the interest is taxed at a federal level, not the state level, right? Yeah. Maximum amounts you can purchase is $10,000 electronically. $5,000 if you use paper. That's per tax ID, per year. You've got to hold them 1 year, at least 1 year. And if you don't hold them at least 5 years, you're going to sacrifice 3 months worth of interest. So there's a lot of moving parts here, Steve. If anyone has any questions, which I'm sure they will, feel free to give us a call, and we'll be happy to walk them through it.
Yeah, Travis, there is a lot. Thank you. This has been great. I look forward to it next week.
I look forward to it as well. Thank you for watching this week's Exchange.
To make sure you don't miss out on future discussions, please follow us on social media.
Make sure to like and share our videos, and we'll see you next week.